Hello, welcome to the podcast. Today is Monday. Oh my gosh, my brain. Yeah. Had a nice weekend. I can't even remember. I don't think I did anything Saturday. No, I was by myself all day because my partner was off doing something, so I did a bunch of laundry and just lazed around, and then yeah, it was pretty much it. It was like 4 or 5 loads of laundry, did the sheets, all that, reset. And then yesterday we went snow tubing, which I know if you're familiar at all with the area that I live in, there has not been snow for over a month. But we went up to West Virginia and they have sorry, there's something bothering me. There's a place that had snow tubing still, so cool. It's weird going snow tubing when there's no snow anywhere else, but it was cold enough, so I had fun. I just, being me, I was like, I know how to go down the hill as fast as possible. You just gotta lay back like a bullet, But the thing is, I told other people in my group how to do it. And they're heavier than me. So they figured it out, and then they always beat me after that because physics. Yeah, it was fun though. Anyways, I still have not been having a whole lot of motivation to record. I did do some of my class over the weekend, mostly because my partner was also studying, and so I was like, oh, I should probably do something. But I didn't really want to. I mean, once I got into it, it wasn't so bad, but I just haven't been wanting to do stuff. I don't know what that is about exactly. I'm still tired. I thought, period's over. I should be back to having energy. Not really. So, I don't know. I was gonna get up and go on the treadmill this morning, but my mom is still downstairs from surgery recovery, and it's been months and months. And I'm just I feel like it's gonna be too loud and it's gonna wake her up. So I'm gonna have to talk to her about it and be like, hey, this is the only time that I can use this treadmill. What are we gonna do here? Because we gotta figure out something. We all have to share a tiny house for now, so I don't know how that's gonna go, but yeah, I mean, I still just sound unenthusiastic. I look unenthusiastic. It was kind of funny. When I went down the hill yesterday the first time, my partner was like, you had the most straight face going down that hill. I wasn't like trying to or trying not to. It was just my face, but I guess I was just going down like this. I don't know. But yep. I'm like, well, that's how I am on like roller coasters and stuff too, which I can't go on anymore with my neck problems. But when I was younger, and he was like, oh, well, when we went, you were laughing. And I was like, yeah. He's like, you're probably laughing at me, though. I was like, yeah. Because he doesn't like roller coasters, and, well, he doesn't have to go on them anymore because I can't, so there we go. But it was fun to do once, to say we did it. And to laugh at his reactions. I don't know. It just made me giggly for some reason. But, normally, nothing. And it's not that I'm not having fun. Like, I am having fun. I just don't feel the need to go, woo. Like, I just don't do that, really. Ever. Just the autism speaking, I think. I've always been that way that I can remember. People have always said, you can act more excited. And I'm like, can I though? Like, do I really need to? Like, at that point, I am faking it. Should I fake my external excitement? Like, I feel it. Or maybe I don't, so what? I'm not as excited as you think I should be. I don't. Yeah. It's just like, I guess I feel if it's not an extreme emotion, it's kind of just meh. Like either, like it would have to be like shockingly exciting, like to the point where like my heart is beating faster and I'm like, oh my God. Like it has to be like that extreme for me to really feel it. Yeah. But anyways, today I realized I messed up my notes like pretty bad. I think I put all of most of lesson 20's notes with lesson 19, which is what I did last time. Like, I put them in the same section instead of separating them the way they're supposed to be. Whoops. So I pretty much already went over everything that was a part of lesson 20 last time. So if you're like, wait a minute, we skipped a lesson, which I doubt anybody is really listening to all of them like that, but if you are, I didn't skip it. I just accidentally combined them together. So now we're on 21. 21. I swear. I laugh at myself. I'm trying to laugh at myself and not be like, you're stupid. Yeah. So today's lesson is about understanding neurodiversity, which I feel like some of it's a little bit repetitive. I mean, I get that like it's a class and sometimes things need to be repetitive in order to remember them, but it's also like we already went over this, but some of the stuff's new, some of it's old. I don't know. Neurodiversity refers to neurological differences that are normal and should be respected. So I think that's like a big thing in the community is understanding and acknowledging that neurodiversity is a natural part of the human experience. You know, people, it's not a disease or flaw, it's just a natural variance in the way that human brains are constructed. So, I think especially right now, with the political climate in the US, a lot of people believe that neurodivergence is this threat to American culture, and that we're somehow like a diseased population, which is just disgusting, and I can't believe people actually believe that. So yeah, we definitely need more people out there that understand what neurodiversity actually is, and that it's not this thing that needs to be solved and fixed and cured, and that or that it even can be. It gets kind of scary when you start talking about eradicating certain natural differences. You know, it starts to sound like a different word that I'm not going to say, but I think we all know. Starts with an E, sounds like a U. And anyways, just don't even want to get into that really, but it's gotta be diligent and continue to educate people so that we don't end up getting to that point. So we shall see. But neurodiversity encompasses autism spectrum disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, dyslexia, and so many more. Basically any neurological difference typically when we talk about neurodiversity, we're not talking about things that happen later in life due to traumas, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have a very similar effect on the brain, and that it shouldn't be kind of looked at similarly. But typically when we're talking about neurodiversity, we're talking about natural variances that occur, not inflicted. But it sometimes can be really difficult, and the lines can be kind of blurred. A lot of people with neurodiversity, naturally from birth, experience a lot of trauma, and it's hard to kind of tell the difference sometimes. 1 second. Sorry about that, I had to blow my nose. Figured you didn't want to see that. But yeah, typically when we're talking about neurodivergence, we're not talking about trauma or like things that happen later in life. But it can be challenging to see where that line is. And at the end of the day, everybody is human, and then we need to be treated with respect. And it doesn't matter how things happen. If your brain functions differently, it shouldn't matter whether you were born that way or something happened to you. It's just the term and the context typically isn't referring to that. Each individual's brain functions uniquely and contributes to diverse perspectives and abilities. And I think it's important to to understand as a society that everybody's brain functions differently, everybody's body functions differently. We're not all clones and the same, and yeah, we function similarly, but we're not the same. Everybody is different. You don't have to be neurodiverse for your brain to function differently than another neurotypical person. Now, it's going to be within a spectrum of what is considered neurotypical, but it's not this cookie cutter. Nobody's one, like, all the same way as somebody else. Like, that's just illogical to even think that. But I think what we're seeing now is that everybody in these certain groups of people believe that they're somehow superior or more functional, or I don't even know, just that they're better than people who function differently, and that's really disturbing. And it totally devalues any contribution from people who are neurodivergent or diverse in really any way. I mean, we're seeing a lot of attacks on diversity, and it's just but I think it's just really important to remember that we're all different. Even if we look similar or we act similar, everybody is different and has a unique perspective. Then that should be valued. Here we are. Value diversity. Support challenges. So basically supporting the struggles that each individual is going to have struggles in something. They're going to struggle in some way or another. And especially in an organization or in a team setting, it's important that we all support each other's needs. Just as much as each person brings specific skills, each person has weaknesses as well, and it's important to be aware of those and not try to hide them and accept help for them. Of course, I can't read my own handwriting, but this type of approach will increase creativity and productivity. I feel like I've talked about this a lot, but typically speaking, neurodivergent people are kind of viewed as these ultra creative or inventive minds, and that it is true in a lot of ways, but I think it's important to remember that we're not like these, we're still just as human as anybody else, and our brains aren't these like super powered machines that can just do these crazy things most of the time. So I think it's important to remember that we're all still human, and everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and our neurodiversity doesn't make us really all that different. So sorry, I don't know what's up with me. Address misconceptions and stereotypes. There's a lot of misconceptions going around right now and stereotypes about neurodiverse people, and I definitely hope that there's enough people out there that are educated enough to kind of see through the very thin veneer of caring about Americans' health when we're talking about neurodiversity, about being is like a threat to American society, which is just, I feel like that's pretty common sense to know that that's not the case, but a lot of people are afraid and don't understand what neurodiversity really is, so I think it's really important for those of us who are neurodiverse, those of us who know a thing or two about it, to speak up and kind of dispel those myths and the fear around being different. Yeah. Everyone has unique strengths and weaknesses, regardless of neurotype, like I was just saying. Promote strengths-based approaches, which we have talked extensively about, and use clear, concise language and visual aids, alternative methods of communication to improve understanding. So, I think it's important to communicate in different forms. I do want to be able to get eventually the text for my podcasts up. I don't make any money off of this. I can't really put any money into this at this moment, and I can't do that for free. So once I either make a little bit of money from this and can get like the pro version, or I don't know, figure out a way to get the captions for this, that's another like thing that I would like to do to be able to help people, but that's why I have visual. I am not the kind of person that likes to just put my face out there, or yeah, I've never done this before, but I know that it can really be helpful to see my lips moving, especially for people who have auditory processing issues. So it's, I think it's really important to have these different ways of communicating so that there's a, better understanding. And this isn't obviously just about me and the podcast, but in various settings, it's good to have different forms of communication going on at the same time or available at the same time, just because everybody's brain processes information differently, and if you really want people to understand something, you should give them the tools to be able to do that. Open communication channels to facilitate teamwork, especially in a work environment. It's really, I think it's crucial to have open communication with your coworkers, with your management. I am a very open communicator when it comes to pretty much everybody, unless I feel like there isn't a need, like this person doesn't impact my life at all and they don't need to know certain things. But for the most part, I'm a very open person, and I'm not talking about you need to say everything about yourself to everybody, but like not being afraid to speak up or ask questions or say, I don't actually agree with that. Can you explain that to me in a different way? Maybe I'm not understanding. It's really important to have that dialogue, and I know that a lot of times in work situations you're afraid to speak up, or you don't want to lose your job, you don't want people to not like you, but I think it's way more important that we have that back and forth. It helps avoid a lot of problems down the line. I've worked in places that didn't have that very much, and I still tried to, but when nobody else is doing the same thing, or only a couple of people, you can just see the dysfunction, and and a lot of times the dissatisfaction with people working there because they have no voice. It's just, yeah. I feel like that's a pretty common sense thing, but again, a lot of times common sense isn't that common, and I also tend to just think I'm not that smart, and so of course everybody knows this, but that's not true, so that's why I'm talking about it. Yes. Recognize the value of diversity. Sorry, I can't with everything that's going on. It's like, please, somebody. No. Recognize the value of diversity, foster respect and inclusion, and promote empathy for a harmonious work environment. And I think this is not just for work. I think this is for the way you treat people in general. Friendships, people that you just see in public. I think if we all had a bit more respect for one another, there'd be the world would be a better place, and just empathy. I know we all have a lot going on in our lives, and there's always something going on. Everybody's got their things. Life is busy. You need to get somewhere quickly. You're low on funds. That happen. It's just the world we live in right now. I think if we can understand that we're all kind of in the same boat most of the time, I just think that we'd have a better experience overall. We all have to live this life, and it's not easy. Excuse me. Yeah, it's not an easy life. But if we can be kinder to one another, understand that everybody else has crap going on in their lives that they don't want to deal with, that they're having to deal with, there can be a real beauty in coming together and really supporting each other, or just having empathy for one another. I know that it's a defense mechanism most of the time to be cold and cut off and just unfeeling in general, and I know that I have done that in the past too, and it can be really hard when you're a deeply empathetic person and you can feel the emotions of the people in the room. You can just want to shut down completely, and I have multiple times, but I think the more we take care of ourselves and limit the interactions that we have that are draining, it can be really empowering to kind of use that as a gift, but obviously within your capacity. I tend to be a deeply empathetic person, but then I also have a lot of shutdowns because of it, and so it can look kind of strange, I think, to some people, where it's like, oh, she's, some days she's, super empathetic, and then some days she's just like a brick wall, and it's like, well, it's because I can't be like that all the time. I have to limit the amount of exertion that I have. So I think that's one reason why I didn't pursue being a therapist, and why when it comes to the coaching aspect of this, I just don't know how much I will be able to, like, I don't know if I would be able to do this in a full-time capacity, because it is draining for me. It's hard to feel someone else's emotions and take that on and then go about the rest of your day. Or then go into another session with a different person and then you're taking on that other person's emotion. Like, it can be a lot. So I think it's important to understand what your capacity is, and yeah, basically to avoid having those shutdowns, or avoid kind of getting cold. In general, I think, especially in the area that I live in, it seems like a lot of people have kind of resigned to just being very self-centered and distant and disconnected and not very emotionally intelligent, because it's just too hard. And I get that it's hard, but I think you miss out on a lot of the beauty in life. And I'm going over a little bit, so I'm gonna have to get going here, but thank you guys for listening to me, and I hope that you have a really good rest of your day, whatever it is that you are doing, that you remember you are enough.